afterlife. If it's the end of the world, I will do better next time. Oh yeah, I know it. Yeah, I know it. If it's the end of the world, I know that I have lived my life to the fullest. Yeah, the fullest. We stood on top of mountains. We've been to space before. We had our dogs and houses.
Situation. My heart and prayers go out to the families of the 6 people who were tragically injured. What I know at this point is at 10:13 today, officers responded to a shots fired call about the Covenant School, the church school. Officers immediately responded. A team of 5 immediately within the school went to where gunshots were being heard and engaged the suspect. We have identified the suspect right now, tentatively a 28-year-old female wife. We know the address of that person as well, and so we have some ongoing investigations as well. We have 3 adult victims, and we have 3 children who have been identified, and their families have been contacted. Right now, I will refrain from saying the ages, other than to say I was literally moved in tears to see them, the kids as they were being ushered out of the building. I want to say thanks to all of our partners, to the FBI, to the ADF, and other federal partners, to the THP, Tennessee Highway Patrol, to the TBI, the district attorney, and to the fire department, who all came together and seamlessly addressed this situation as quickly as possible. I've already gotten requests from the national media about a great response. We're still assessing that as well. So what I can say and what I've said before is that whenever I hope that we would never have this situation, that if we ever did, we would not wait. We would immediately go in and we would immediately engage the person perpetrating this horrible crime. And so that's all I can say. Right now we have David Rice, director of the TBI, who will come after me to address his portion. And then we have others that will say something as well. So thanks. Thanks, Chief.
Again, I want to echo what Chief has said in reference to the great support and the great teamwork that has been taking place here, and as well as sending our heartfelt prayers to the families, to this community of these victims. Now, I know there'll be people who want to criticize us for prayers, but that's the way we do that in the South, right? We believe in prayer, and we believe in the power of prayer. So our prayers go out to these families. The role of the TBI in this investigation is we have been asked by General Funk to assist in the officer-involved portion of this incident. So the incident where the officers engaged the suspect, we are assisting the Metro investigation. And the reason we've got Metro doing the primary investigation is because it was a fluid scene. So there wasn't a single stop in the action. So as they investigate the homicides, then we felt it was most appropriate for them to continue that investigation. But we will assist as in our role as an independent oversight on the officer-involved situation. And so that will be the role of TBI. We too want to thank all of our partners. It is special. We've had this conversation, unfortunately, too many times in Tennessee, and that is that you wish you wouldn't have to do these types of scenes. But when you do, you want to have the working relationships that we have in our law enforcement community here in Tennessee. It is amazing. And we've all come together as one and working very tirelessly. And we'll continue to work together to address this situation. It's a horrible senseless tragedy. and we will be here working with our partners to get through it. And, next, I'd like to introduce the District Attorney General for this area, Glenn Sung. This is the ultimate crime when school children and caregivers are the victims of senseless gun violence. Can't say anything before we first express our concerns for the victims and their families and the extended number of victims that are traumatized by today's events. I came out on the scene today because our current operating procedure is that when an officer is involved in a shooting, the TBI comes out, and I knew that this was a unique case, and I want to make sure that everything was handled appropriately. Director Rouse was out here almost at the exact same time I got here, and Chief Drake had already been on the scene for a while. The three of us met and talked about how the investigation was going to be handled. We made a joint decision, affirming what the two law enforcement leaders, how they wanted to proceed, which was that Metro was going to handle the bulk of this, but the TBI would participate in a capacity to continue with making sure that we have transparency and everything, and to make sure that any backup that MNPD needs in this continued investigation would be provided. Can't not stress enough how seamlessly that worked to have a conversation and a decision to be made quickly and appropriately as far as how the case was going to be handled from here. Hats off to Chief Drake and to Director Rouse. Also want to thank Chief Swan and our federal partners as well. Well, I cannot comment about the ongoing nature of the investigation. Really impressed with the work that's being done by law enforcement.
Yes, good afternoon. First, let me just say, as everyone else, what a tragic day here in Nashville. So our hearts and our prayers do go out to all the family members, and also the first responders that actually made this call. As always, the fire department and Office of Emergency Management, our job is to support, and we were here at the beginning, and we'll be here to the end. We just ask that everyone, being, as it was said earlier about prayer, we ask for that. And the ongoing support that's needed from our standpoint is to give support in any area that's asked for on the scene. So again, we thank you, and from this point forward, we'll just continue on with our mission and try to bring some type of closure and resolution. Thank you.
I anticipate there will be another briefing after the. Four o'clock. We will entertain 2 or 3 questions at this moment before these gentlemen have to go back to the scene to continue their work. Chief, you identified the shooter in this case? Yes, we have identified the suspect. It's a 28-year-old female white that's actually on Nashville or lives in the Nashville area. We are having an ongoing investigation as it pertains to her at this time. Located her place where she lives? You have officers there? We have. Was she wearing body armor? Was she wearing body armor? I can't say that far into the investigation. I don't remember seeing it, but I can't say for certain that she had body armor on or not. Did she have any connection with the church? From my initial findings is that at one point she was a student at that school, but I'm sure what year, all of that, but that's what I've been told so far. Did she give any word on social media, or have the social media been examined at this point? The investigations are still going on at this point. Our federal partners, our state partners, we're all looking into that to see exactly. This is still fluid at the time, but we're looking at everything. Don't remember a fire alarm going off. I was told there were kids that evacuated into a wood line. They had the presence of mind to do that and to go to a fire hall. Once we arrived on scene, we had everyone moved to First Baptist Church, Woodmont. And that way we could get parents and
children reunited, and then ultimately make the notification on the 3 kids.
Hell yeah,
There was a door that was entered. All doors were locked, to our understanding, and how exactly she got in at this point is still under investigation. There is a vehicle that was nearby that gave us clues as into who she was, and but as stated, that investigation is still ongoing.
Did the school have school shooter protocol?
They did have protocol. To my understanding, we had unfortunately 3 kids that were tragically hurt. It could have been far worse.
Okay, folks, we'll be back again before 4 o'clock. Okay, thank you.
Chief Investigative Reporter Jeremy Finley. Jeremy, what have you learned since we've last seen you, especially after police have started connecting some of the dots with this Hale home?
Yeah, we're understanding a lot more, Marius, about what happened here this afternoon. So what we know for certain is that around 1:30 this afternoon, police came here to this neighborhood. We're on Brightwood Avenue in the 12th South area. I'm going to show you why police came here. They came here to the house that you're seeing there, 3005 Brightwood Avenue. That is the home of the Hale family. The news conference just confirmed that the family living there is the Hale family, and that Audrey Hale, the now named shooter at the Covenant School, lived in this home. We do of where the truck is where a truck is located in the mailbox, but I'm actually going to walk onto the other side here and see. It looks like they've got some kind of table set up or something where they can review again plans that they are going over, maybe some details about what they found inside. They keep coming back to that section and looking at what it is. Right now, a member of the SWAT team just walked into the home again through that shattered front door that it was. There's an individual standing there as well that just came out. But this is going to be a major focus of this criminal investigation. This is identified by police as the home where the shooter lived. They're going to be going through everything that is inside this home. And obviously, because they had to use flash grenades, they had to use explosives to get into the home. Obviously, there was no way that they could wait. And I will tell you that a short while ago, WSMP4 Investigates aired a story about new technology that is available now to schools, talking about how quickly police can move into classrooms. Research for that story, I was able to read through the Uvalde investigation, and one of the major complaints found about how response was done at that school was that how long police waited to confront the shooter in Uvalde. Obviously, you heard Chief Drake say today they did not wait. They immediately went into that room and risking their lives, no doubt. So that's a key difference between what happened in Uvalde and what happened here. This also explains why so quickly police came to this house once she was identified as a suspect and then used every means necessary to get inside the house. Question is, was anybody home at the time? We obviously don't know. We're waiting to get more of that information. But it's what's inside that house that is going to be key for police. This is where she lived, according to police. This is where whatever information that she was gathering or whatever details she had. We know that she was a prior student of the school. We don't know much about her, but we are investigating at this moment to try and get more information. But you can see now that the police officers are once again, and the SWAT team members are going inside the house, trying to get as many details as they can. Using a flash grenade like that, they know what they risk. They know that they risk damaging anything inside just to get inside, but these men and women are professionals, and they know that if they have to get inside, they have to get in quick. We also hear from witnesses that they had heard repeated explosions inside, so it is unclear if they needed to try to get into other locations. We hope to get some more information about that in the next press briefing. Cars coming through this neighborhood right up in front. You heard it just then. That was the sound that police police. That loud pop, and it was so loud. Several of the witnesses that we spoke with said that they could feel it throughout all of the houses in the neighborhood. It was that strong, coming through the neighborhood. That's how strong it was. Looks like now we've had a car that's just pulled up out front. We're unclear why, if that is another member of the law enforcement or who that is. We're waiting to find out. But this has been a very busy location throughout the afternoon. It happened about 1:30 this afternoon, and from that point on, people started hearing the explosions from the flash grenades or soft grenades, whatever they used. We hope to find that out in just a moment from what exactly they used. But the witnesses were all very clear in how loud it was, the force of what it was. I have been able to ask several of the witnesses if they knew Audrey Hale, if they knew the family. All of the people we've spoken to so far live farther down the street, so the folks that live a little bit closer, they have not. I'm watching out of the corner of my eye and seeing law enforcement still standing outside, but many of them are now inside the house. Undercover detectives as well as there, so we're trying to be respectful and not show many of their identities if we can avoid that. But again, this is going to become, sadly, one of the ground zeros in this investigation. Obviously, covering the school is going to be the major location, but this is where they're going to get a lot of their answers. And in the next hours and days, as we try to understand who this young woman was and why she did this, and this house is going to be a key part of that. We have a lot more questions to ask and a lot more answers to find out. But for now, I'm going to throw it back to you all.
Jeremy, just a quick question before we let you go. I mean, we're hearing some interesting details confirmed by police within this latest news briefing. They're talking about maps that detailed entry points into the school and a manifesto of sorts that they were able to find, and that they haven't been able to make contact with the father. Have you seen police walking out of this family home with evidence of any kind? Usually you kind of see them coming in and going.
Sure, absolutely, and that's what we've been watching too. We've been watching to see, and we're still at a pretty good distance, so if we can zoom in with our lenses, we can see a little bit closer, but from where we're being kept back with the crime scene tape, it's still, several yards away from us to be able to see if they're bringing anything out, but we know this for certain. No people have come out of this house that weren't law enforcement. Again, they seem to be gathering in the front at a table there. We're not seeing them haul out equipment, anything like that at this point. That would be something that we're obviously waiting on to see if they're going to bring this in for their own crime lab, perhaps work with a TBI crime lab to try to analyze whatever's inside. But you're right about that. That is going to be a key part of this. If there is a manifesto that gives any type of descriptions, obviously, if Audrey Hale attended this school, then she knows it well and would know where to go in, even if she hadn't been a member of the school for some time. And obviously, if they haven't been able to reach the father, if they haven't been able to reach any family members, then they really had no choice but to go inside and use those flash grenades or soft grenades to try and get inside. So we'll be very interested to try and get some more information about what they're finding out inside the house, what they're going to potentially be bringing outside of the house. All of that information is going to be key in the next couple hours, guys.
Jeremy, we talked about the manifesto, we talked about the maps, we talked about the date, the specific date. Chief Drake told us that this was a targeted shooting. I guess one of the main focuses of this investigation is who Audrey Hale may have been targeting.
Right, and I think that obviously that's the question that everyone's going to ask, right? I mean, of course, everyone's going to be grieving for so long as a result of this, but it is human nature for us to say why. Why did this happen? Why did the woman who lives at this home, 28 years old, a graduate of the school, why would she do this to the school that she attended? What sparked her to take this action? What happened inside that house? If any of it had to do with her mental state, we don't know. All we can go on at this point is public records showing that her parents own the home, that they do have a daughter, by the name of Audrey. We were able to confirm that before the news conference. And all of the people that we're speaking with, again, on this side of the crime scene tape, a little bit further down the street, they don't know the family. But you can see that this is a really sweet neighborhood. Right across the street is a house with a child's play toys outside. There's a golf cart right up here. This is a really sweet neighborhood where, you know, people live their lives day in and day out. There's a number of renters here as well. But we're hearing children playing in the background as we've been standing here reporting. So this is a very residential area, and you know there's a good chance that people may have known them, especially if they have lived here for some time. We have seen very few neighbors come out of any of these houses, but a lot of people standing here with the rest of us just trying to get some information. Because as you said, Marius, that's the key we're going to be asking ourselves over and over again is why would this happen? And when you research school shootings as we have done for our prior investigations, you will see that a 28-year-old woman is not the usual MO. Not that matters at all in the grand scheme of things, but this is listening to what Chief Drake said is that he kept hoping that this wasn't ever going to happen here, and now it has. And now we not only have the Covenant School that we're watching, and of course Woodmont Baptist Church where the reunification was happening, but now we're also watching this neighborhood, this street on Brightwood Avenue in 12 South, where the shooter lived. And we don't know if she lived there alone. We don't know if her parents lived here with her. We only know what the property records show, which is that they owned the house. So we are hoping to get some more information exactly about what happened here, what may be inside that house in the coming hours, Marius.
Jeremy Finley, thank you so much. Jeremy has been on scene all morning covering this for us, getting the very latest information, and we're going to be heading back out to him shortly as he as he finds more information.
I mean, that's kind of the place to start if you want to know more about the suspected shooter. You kind of go to where they live. Your neighbors typically know a lot about you, and so that's where he is trying to get information as we work to learn a little bit more. We want to take you back in time to hear a little bit more from Chief Drake, who addressed the media just moments ago and revealed some pretty interesting new information about a manifesto, a map that they found that had detailed different entry points into the school.
Yes, we have identified the suspect as a 28-year-old female white, that's actually a Nashvilleian or lives in the Nashville area. We are having ongoing investigation as it pertains to her at this time.
Located her.
From my initial findings is that at one point she was a student at that school, but unsure what year, all of that. But that's what I've been told so far.
And in the most recent news conference, within the last few minutes, he also gave us a little bit more insight, right?
Yes.
About how she made entry through the side door at the school.
Yeah, we know that she shot the door, and that's how it became open to get into that school. She started on the bottom floor, worked her way up to the top, and that's where she was engaged by a couple of Metro police officers.
That makes you think that if you couldn't just open it with your hand, it was probably locked, if you had to go to a gun to get it open.
Yeah, and we want to let you know that this school had gone through active shooter protocol, so they were doing the right thing initially by having those doors locked.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the victims, because we are just getting new information. So if you're just joining us, we're getting a better understanding of who they are. Cynthia Peak was a substitute teacher in her 60s. She was killed this morning. Mike, he was also killed, and the head of the school, Catherine Kuntz, died as well.
We know 3 9-year-olds also lost their lives. Evelyn Dickhouse was 9, Haley Scruggs also 9, and William Kinney, 3 victims, 9-year-olds in this devastating shooting.
And police say they believe that this was a targeted attack, and it just is so difficult to wrap your mind around who targets children, right?
Yeah, and that's a question that police are trying to get answers to right now. A lot of people scratching their heads. We do know that they have a lot of evidence that they're going through right now, including the manifesto. There's maps, a detailed map of the school drawn out. We know that this, once again, was a targeted attack. We just don't know who was targeted and why they were targeted.
As you can imagine, we are hearing from elected officials, from the mayor to the governor, even the president of our country. Governor Bill Lee issued a statement earlier today, as did the mayor. Basically, everybody's standing in solidarity with the victims and keeping them close in their thoughts.
Yeah, you think of community. Whenever tragedy happens, people talk about community. And I've been to Nashville a couple of years, but I've seen this community just jump into action when tragedy strikes, and this community is going to wrap its arms around those families and just hold them tight.
And we know that there's at least one vigil that is planned for this evening. We're still working to figure out if that's public or not, so we're not sharing all of the details just yet to be respectful of their privacy. Sorry, our producer's just talking to us in our ear. There's one at Marathon Music Works that we are going to go ahead and let you know about. That's happening tonight, and it sounds... The doors open at 6:30, and it sounds like that is open to the public. We know that the Red Cross is offering counseling to people who feel like they may need that as a resource, because you have to think about all the people that this affects.
Yeah, we've talked to therapists today about how you talk to your kids about the situation that just occurred. Even the president talked about post-traumatic and how mental illness or mental health is huge for these kids that some watched, as they said, the bad man shooting from the window as they hid in a wooded area. These kids are going to be affected by this trauma.
Here's one of the other vigils that we're learning about. This is going to be one happening in Mount Juliet at the Mount Juliet Clock Tower there, and that looks like it's going to happen at 6:30 for you, and that folks are allowed to attend that if you want to pray for these families and show support for them as well.
We want to talk about how this all started. It was 10:13 in the morning when they first got the call that an active aggressor was at Covenant School. We know it took a matter of 14 minutes from 10:13 to 10:27 when they announced that shooter had been deceased.
And, we were hearing from the mayor, Mayor Cooper, and he said, they responded so quickly to this, it wasn't enough time.
Yeah.
The damage had been done. That's not to say that they didn't prevent even more damage with that swift response, but he said, let us hug our children a little closer tonight.
You think about the response times. You said it wasn't fast enough, and they did what was right. The doors were locked.
Right.
This shooter shot a door open to get inside the school.
Right. So scary. We're also learning new details from police that they have recovered maps that indicated entry points into the school. Now, remember, this is a former student at the school who police say carried out this attack. So they have been able to find a map that was drawn, some sort of manifesto detailing what was planned for today, which is just troubling.
Yeah. And, in situations like this, as minutes go by, more information comes out. I'm sure Metro Nashville Police will have another update, and we're going to learn more information, and maybe they can start answering some of the questions as to why and putting some of the pieces of this puzzle back together for us.
And we know that this has just been a grueling day for parents. Parents who rushed to the school trying to see if their children were there, were okay, and then were told to go to this reunification center at Woodmont Baptist Church. And then they were gathered there in the sanctuary for hours, and that began the second phase of that grueling process of trying to figure out, are my children safe? And it was a one-by-one kind of situation that took hours. This was not immediate for families like you would think in your mind, that they showed up there and ran to their children. They were kind of held at bay while everything was sorted out, and families and children were reunited kind of one by one. And this is video that we have from inside of that sanctuary where the parents were being held while school officials were preparing to kind of match everyone back together.
Yeah, we heard from one of the witnesses that Lauren Lowry spoke to was there, one of the first people on scene at that reunification. He talked about how it's just chaos. People running in, people getting text messages. Some of the text messages weren't true. Some of them were true. Parents worried about their kids, worried whether or not they were safe, or just a lot of chaos that was going on at the reunification center.
And we've been hearing all day from parents, not necessarily parents at this school, but parents at nearby schools who kind of watched from a distance all of this unfolding and how that resonated with the parent inside of them.
Yeah, and as parents, we both are parents, and it's hard to tell stories like this because you oftentimes put yourself in that position. I see me walking my daughter away from a school like that, and it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
This is one of the women that we spoke with. She's a parent, but not of a student at the Covenant School.
There was so many police cars and ambulances started to the school. And these were energy was a school.
No words.
Just so frightening and so unimaginable. We also spoke with a woman whose mother was a teacher inside of the school who managed to survive.
She said she was hiding on the closet, and that they were shooting all over, and that they had potentially tried to get into her room, and just she loved us, and that they could just hear shooting all over the school. Even though I was hearing from her, we didn't really know if she was safe, but just getting that initial phone call that she was okay, it obviously brings a ton of relief, but you're still hurting for the people out there that might not, get that call.
Imagine getting that call from your parents that they're in a closet because there's an active shooter situation at their school.
And getting that, you're not sure whether or not it will be the final message from your loved one.
Yeah.
In that case, your own mother. Just incredible stories of survival and unimaginable stories of loss that we're hearing today.
And here's what we know about the shooter, 28-year-old Audrey Hale. We know that she was a former student of Covenant School. We know that they have found a manifesto. They found writings. They found a detailed map of Covenant School, and they know that this was a targeted shooting.
The big question, though, why, right? Why go to such great lengths to develop a plan, and why target a school? And so the chief, in a news conference a few moments ago, was saying, look, we've got a working theory here about the why. We're not ready to release it, but it sounds like they are inching closer in their investigation to answering some of these fundamental questions that we've been asking for hours.
And we also know that there is video that police have of this incident. They said they were going to try to release it at some point today, if not today, tomorrow morning, and that will give us more insight as to what went on at Covenant School today.
And certainly give them more insight into the approach of the attack, the carrying out of that attack, and the response to that attack.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of people on social media thanking first responders of how they responded to that attack. I remember after the Uvalde school shooting, listening to an interview with Tracy Cornett and Chief Drake, and there was a lot of controversy about how police responded in Uvalde. And Chief Drake said that his officers are trained to go right in, to confront that shooter right then and there. And it looks like that's exactly what happened here.
And that was the overarching message that we heard from the police department today. Every opportunity they had, they were hammering home this point that we got there, we heard gunfire, and we sent a team of 5 directly towards that gunfire. There was no hesitation. They say that their response was immediate and pointed. When we talk about the timeline of response, they got the call at 5:13, and we've played a little bit of those initial calls for help for you. They got the call at 5:13.
10:13.
Excuse me, 10:13. They got the call at 10:13, and within 14 minutes, officers were there, and they had shot and killed the suspected shooter.
And what we do know is that the doors of Covenant School were locked at the time. We know the shooter shot through one of the doors, and that's how she entered that school. We also know that the school had gone through active shooter protocol, so they were preparing for a situation like this.
And this is some of the other remarkable video that we've been seeing today. You know, it was just interesting to see the dichotomy between children who weren't really quite sure of the magnitude or gravity of the situation, and then other children who it was clear that they had experienced some sort of trauma, immediate trauma.
Yeah, this is a school, a very small school, a very intimate school. 209 students there, 42 faculty and staff there. So it's a very small community.
Yeah, let's talk about the victims. If you're just joining us, so we can share some of that new information with you as well. We know 3 adults were killed and 3 children, about 9 years old, were all killed as well. And 3 of the adults were staff members. So Cynthia Peak was a substitute teacher. Mike Hill was a custodian at the school. And then the head of schools, Catherine Kuntz, was killed as well.
We also know 3 9-year-olds, which is, you never want to say this on TV, but 3 9-year-olds also lost their lives. Evelyn Dickhouse, Haley Scruggs, as well as William Kinney.
No doubt, everyone involved in this scenario today has experienced some sort of trauma. We know that the Red Cross is offering counseling and help. And then we know that there are a few different vigils that are scheduled for tonight. So one is happening at the Mount Juliet Clock Tower at 6:30 for anyone who wants to go. And then there's one other one.
Marathon Music at 6:30 as well. So this community is going to come together and wrap their arms around these families. A lot of people are trying to process what went on today. They're asking themselves, why here? Why would this happen to us?
I told my husband what was going on because he had to go out of town for the day, and he was just shocked. I mean, and I think that's the resounding reaction, is just shock that this happens other places.
Yeah.
And now it's here.
I was recently out of the country and speaking to some people over in Italy, and I asked them what they did. And they said gun violence. That was the first thing they knew about our country. And it hit me there, and now it's hitting me at a different level today.
Well, and this has just been a tough day, and that's gone on for hours and hours, even for families whose children were safe, because there was a period of time where they just didn't know. They had to go to the reunification site and wait, and it was a slow, grueling process, as we heard from people who were inside that sanctuary watching it unfold.
Yeah, at one point, only 9 families, and this is after hours, only 9 families had been reunified or getting back together, reunited, if you will. But now, all the families have been reunited, and I guess parents are hugging their kiddos a little tighter tonight as we still try to process what happened at Covenant School today. Well, right now, new WSMV 4 at 5 starts right now. Lauren, thank you so much. And as you can imagine, this whole situation has been horrifying for parents trying to figure out what's been going on, if their children were okay, and where they can find them.
We actually talked to a mother of a child who goes to a different school who happened to witness some of the response. She was understandably shaken up.
There were so many police cars, and then the ambulances started pulling away from the school. And that's when I had heard it was a school shooting. But that is just, there's no words.
Well, President Biden spoke at the White House today about the shooting, stressing the importance of caring for our mental health.
It's heartbreaking. Family's worst nightmare. And I want to commend the police for the time, literally, especially within minutes. We have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation. It's ripping the very soul of the nation. And we have to do more to protect our schools so they aren't turned into prisons. There's more to learn, but I just wanted to send my concerned hearts out to so many parents out there.
Lady Jill Biden was speaking at the National Leagues of Cities Conference today in Washington. When she received the news of the shooting, here's what she had to say.
I am truly without words, and our children deserve better. And we stand, all of us, we stand with Nashville in prayer.
And we're learning more about the victims in this shooting. Let's go back out to Lauren Lowry right now.
Right yet. Okay. Okay, Marius and Amanda, thanks so much. Yeah, we are just talking right now because we just saw a tow vehicle go onto the property, and we were speaking amongst ourselves. What do you think the job for them is today? What vehicles are they towing away? Is it possibly a vehicle of Amanda Hale? So thank you for your patience, and we're trying to figure some of that out. We'll be watching that to see what kind of car leaves the property on that tow truck. But we're just minutes away from vigils starting. We've been reporting all day long about the vigils that are popping up to honor the people who passed. Courtney, what can you tell us about the unifying of people together to honor the lives of lost today?
There's several tonight. One kicks off. I know that there's one at 6:30 over at tonight's Presbyterian Academy. That's just about 10 minutes away. That's a school that's very close in proximity to this one. And in terms of the student body, a lot of them know each other. There's also one in Cypress. There's one in Mount Juliet. I know that Lipscomb has one. I feel like these are just the start of several vigils. No, but that's a big question. And the question too you mentioned is the thought. How did the shooters even get here?
Right. We have to find that. We'll have to still have a decision to make. How much of the cleaning up of that are they doing? It could be so much deeper than just replacing walls, patching walls that have bullet holes in them, or replacing windows that might have been shot out. The city as a whole has a much larger issue that they'll have to focus on down the road.
Memories too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the student, and I know that we put out how young some of these students are, and so that they do have that kind of innocence that shields them, but there's obviously older students, and there's obviously the entire staff of that school. 40 plus staff members. The head of the school, 60-year-old Catherine Booth, was killed. She's worked there for 7 years. There's also a custodian. There's also a substitute teacher. And so that's another thing is when you go back to school or go back to work, in this case for the adults, just like the trauma that's associated with this building now.
There are 7 people total who are not going home today. 6 of them are victims in this situation. And so it is certainly a major day for the family and this Nashville community. I know that their work has been live out of the facility all day long, bringing us so many stories. I'm going to get to them.
Hey, Lauren, when I was here earlier today, we first learned really just how tragic this situation was when hospital officials pulled me aside and told us that 3 children lost their lives in that shooting. Since then, we know 3 adults also died, part of the school staff there. And after that moment were just heartbreaking scenes here at the hospital of family and friends gathering outside the emergency room here, crying and hugging, as you can imagine. It also brought out strangers like Michael Dinkins, who felt the need to do something. He came here and he prayed.
Well, it's kind of like a gut punch. Whenever I hear about something like this, but because it's so close by, we want to just come here and see if there's anything we can do, and which, you feel kind of powerless.
He prayed with a man who was here waiting for an update on his wife who was subbing today at Covenant School. We now know who that victim is, and Michael had a chance to speak with them. Here's some recounting that interaction.
We ran into a guy his wife is missing, and they don't have any accounting for her yet. And it's kind of late for not hearing from someone. So we prayed for him, and his 2 daughters are there. Baffling. It doesn't make sense. You can't make sense out of it why someone would hurt children like that.
And you feel for the hospital staff who we know did everything they could to save 6 lives today, and you just, the hearts are broken for the families who showed up here, most likely learning the worst news they'll learn in their entire lives. We'll go back to you. guys as we may not hear from so.
Yeah, Michael Warwick, I'll take it here live outside Covenant School. It's definitely one of those places that we will not have access to maybe ever at this point. You can see behind me that there is still a police presence. They've put up some barricades. I also saw someone show up just in the last 2 minutes bringing a case of water. It's something we saw earlier today at the heat of all of the activity at the reunification center. Companies that were just nearby in Green Hills. There was a Walgreens. There was a cycling studio. Just employees that showed up with boxes of food and snacks and then cases of water. And I spoke with some of them and I said, hey, who are you with? And they told me they couldn't be in this neighborhood and do nothing. And so that's what we've been seeing all day here across the Green Hills community. People checking on people taking care of others as well. And I'm certain it won't end tonight. Maurice and Amanda. All right, Lauren, thanks. So many families wondering, how do I talk to my kids about this? How do I help them cope with this? This is a story that hits home for one of our reporters, and she may be able to offer a little help.
Yeah, our Julian Bukovac is a school shooting survivor. She sat down with WSMV's Brendan Tierney to talk about how to process the trauma and how to talk with your children. Brendan.
Marius and Amanda, Joy Lynn says it took her 2 years to be able to talk about what she saw in the 8th grade when a gunman opened fire in her Alabama school and killed one of her classmates.
Well, right now, the toughest part is the unknowns.
Joylyn Bukovac reporting on something she knows all too well, having to run and hide in her music class at Discovery Middle School in Madison, Alabama, when she was just 13 years old after witnessing a shooting in the hallway.
There was the victim on the ground, and I knew it was bad. I knew I needed to get out.
She says talking with parents and other witnesses today outside of Covenant Presbyterian School took her back to that day in 2010.
A lot of this is really bringing up a lot of tough memories for me that I'm going through.
Thinking about what her parents had to go through, praying she was alive and would come home.
I can't even put into words what was going through my mind. My heart broke for those families.
Joylyn says what happened to her made her want to become a news reporter. In this case, it's also to share her perspective with parents and their children.
If I can just help one family, one person, that would make sharing my story worth it.
But Joylyn says it takes time to process the trauma of a shooting like this. She was diagnosed with PTSD, but not until she was in college. She says it's important to be patient with your children, even if they didn't hear or see what happened at Covenant School.
Just tell them that you're here to talk when they're ready. I think that's a big key. And don't make them feel guilty about not wanting to talk.